Hey ghouls and gals, welcome back to my channel. My name is Taylor and today's video is part 2 of the new horror releases coming out in the month of September. There were so many new and anticipated book releases this month for me that I did have to split this list up into 2 separate videos. So there is a part 1 over the first half of September, and for this video I'm going to be talking about releases that come out September 23rd and September 30th. Like I usually do with these videos, when I'm talking about the book, I will have book information on the screen with me, the book cover, and then the release date. I will also have some information about these releases in the description bar down below. So let's go ahead and jump into these very exciting, anticipated September releases. So we are starting off with that first release date, which is September 23rd. And the first book we're going to be talking about today is Body of Water by Godfrey, and this says it's for fans of Stephen King's The Mist and the HBO show The Last of Us. It's a wildly inventive, sinister thriller following an estranged father and daughter who find themselves trapped in a diner by a living body of water. In hopes of reconnecting with his grieving teenage daughter Lauren, he takes them on a trip through the Appalachian Mountains where he has really fond memories of their past as a family. But what was supposed to be a quick diner pit stop suddenly transforms into a nightmare when armed men stumble in, ranting about a mysterious and deadly living water that has attacked several people up the road. The story that these men are spinning seem to be the rantings of drunken lunatics, but soon Glenn, his daughter, and the other diners find themselves hostages to both the gunmen and the inexplicably terrifying entity, because there's truly something wrong with the water and it has no mercy. A chilling story from a brand new voice in fiction, Body of Water explores the complicated nature of grief, terror, and the ghosts we must confront to survive. So I'm excited about this one. I have actually not watched The Last of Us. I watched my partner play the video games a while ago, so I do know like what that story is about, just haven't watched the show. And I do really like The Mist. I haven't seen the Mist movie, but I have read the original short story by Stephen King, and I really liked it. There was just something so compelling about a potentially end of the world sort of event, or just very dangerous and deadly event that locks a bunch of people into a random location. In The Mist, it was a supermarket. In this one, it's going to be a diner. So I am really intrigued by those comparisons, and I'll definitely be checking this one out. Next up, coming out the 23rd, we have Slashed Beauties by Rushby, and this is a gothic feminist body horror in 2 timelines revolving around 3 anatomical Venuses, ultra-realistic wax figures of women that come to life at night to murder men who have wronged them. So one of these timelines is Soul, present day. Antiques dealer Alice's task is nearly complete. She has at last secured Elizabeth, the final anatomical Venus, in a dangerously entwined trio. Crafted in 18th century London and modeled after real-life sex workers to entice male medical students to study human anatomy, these eerie wax figures, known as Slashed Beauties, carry unsavory lore. Legend has it that the figures are bewitched and come to life at night to murder men who have wronged them. We also follow London, 1763, abandoned and penniless in Covent Garden. Wide-eyed Eleanor and another young woman, Emily, are taken under the wing of beautiful and beguiling Elizabeth, one of the city's most highly desired courtesans. But as Eleanor is seduced deeper into a web of money, materialism, and men, it seems that Elizabeth may not be the savior that she appears to be. As the past and present begin to intersect, it becomes clear that the women's stories are linked in deeper, darker ways than it initially seems. So I'm very excited about this one. I love a gothic horror, I love a historical horror, and the mannequin slash wax figure, like there's something about an ultra realistic statue of a person that is very creepy imagery, definitely uncanny valley. So I think the premise of these slashed beauties that come to life to murder men, such a creepy and interesting premise, and I'm really intrigued to see how these 2 POVs, the 2 timelines of the present day and then the 18th century, are going to intertwine together. Next up, coming out the 23rd, we have Spread Me by Gailey, and this is a darkly seductive tale of survival. A routine probe at a research station turns deadly when the team discovers a strange specimen in search of a warm place to stay. right off the bat, it's kind of giving The Thing vibes here. Kinsey has the perfect job as the team lead in a remote research outpost. She loves the isolation and the way the desert keeps temptations from the civilian world far out of reach. When her crew discovers a mysterious specimen buried deep in the sand, Kinsey breaks quarantine and brings it inside. But the longer it's there, the more her carefully controlled life begins to unravel. Temptation has found her after all, and it can't be ignored any longer. One by one, Kinsey's team realizes the thing they're studying is in search of a new host, and one of them is the perfect candidate. And the thing is like in italics in this blurb, so I definitely think this is supposed to be like a deserty sort of inspired The Thing tale. I like that movie. It's a classic for a reason, and I'm really excited. I think Sarah Gailey could really capture the paranoia of a small isolated research team with something very paranormal, alien-esque. I don't know which way this one's going to lean, but something not so great going after them, picking them off maybe one by one. We are now moving on to September 30th, and the first book that I want to talk about coming out this release date is The Autumn Springs Retirement Home Massacre by Philip Fracassi. This is brimming with dark humor, violence, and mystery. It's a blood-soaked slasher, sure to keep readers guessing until the very last page. Now, slashers, I will be the first to admit, and if you watched one of my more recent vlogs, it's definitely not like my preferred subgenre of horror. There are definitely a lot of exceptions to that rule, but overall, it's not something I gravitate towards, but this one sounds very unique. I've read from this author before and enjoyed, so I am intrigued by this slasher. So Rose Dubois is not your average final girl. She's in her late 70s, living out her golden years at the Autumn Springs retirement home. When one of her friends dies alone in her apartment, Rose isn't too concerned. Accidents do unfortunately happen, especially at this age. However, when another resident drops dead, and then another, and then another, bodies start to stack up, and Rose can't help but wonder, are these accidents old age or something far more sinister? Together with her best friend Miller, Rose begins to investigate. The further she digs, the more convinced she becomes there's a killer on the loose at Autumn Springs, and if she isn't careful, Rose might be their next victim. I'm all for older protagonists in horror fiction, and especially in slashers. I feel like we don't really get older protagonists, so I am really intrigued about this one. I think Autumn Springs Retirement Home, I think it's gonna fill some blind spots in my horror reading, because I don't think I've ever read a horror book. I've read horror books that surround older protagonists, elderly protagonists. I don't think I've read a single book that's set inside a retirement home, so this could be a very interesting take on a slasher. Next up, coming out the 30th, we have The Captive by Kit Burgoyne, and this one is from a new voice in horror. It's a satirical Rosemary's Baby for our conspiratorial present, in which anti-capitalist activists unwittingly unleash terrifying demonic forces when they kidnap a pregnant heiress. And I love Rosemary's Baby. It's one of my absolute favorite horror classics. I do know that a lot of times when a book is compared to Rosemary's Baby, it never really lives up to my expectations, but this one is on my anticipated list because the whole kidnapping plot, I think, is going to turn this one in a very, very interesting and wild direction. For months, Luke and his underground revolutionary group have been planning their biggest operation yet, kidnapping 23-year-old Adeline Wolsall. They don't want a ransom, they want to expose the Wolsall group, the source of Adeline's parents' enormous wealth, a vast yet largely anonymous company that runs everything from military bases and mental hospitals to commuter trains, call centers, and prisons. But the revolutionaries get a shock when they bundle Adeline into their van. She's about to go into labor, and she may not object, actually, to being kidnapped if it allows her and the baby to escape her parents. It quickly becomes apparent that this is no ordinary child, and that's just the beginning. Luke discovers that Adeline's parents engineered this pregnancy, and now the Wolsalls and their henchmen will stop at nothing to get this infant back. back. So I'm really intrigued by this one, cautiously intrigued with the Rosemary's Baby sort of comparison. And I think the kidnapping plot where they kidnap someone and then they realize that like the stakes are way higher than they thought and they're entangled in something that is just way bigger than they thought, I think that'll make for a very engaging and interesting premise. Next up, we have Demon Song by Kelsea, and this is about a young woman who discovers the terrifying secrets lurking within the walls of a Beijing opera house in this addictive gothic horror novella inspired by Chinese mythology about the price of fame and the bonds between mothers and daughters, perfect for fans of Shirley Jackson and Cassandra Khaw. Places like this have a history, desires, and this one is famished. Megan and her mom are on the run after narrowly escaping the clutches of an abusive man who dragged them from Portland to Beijing. With few options, Megan's mom turns to an old friend who offers them room and board in the Huahuang Opera Theater in exchange for cleaning the ancient building. But the opera house has its secrets. There are passages within the walls that shouldn't be there, and the more Megan delves into an old book that she finds on the premises, the more myths begin to bleed into real life. As Megan finds it increasingly difficult to separate reality from folklore, she must uncover a decades-old mystery to discover the true horrifying secret of the opera house before it casts its hungry eyes on her. So very intrigued by this one, a haunted house, a haunted opera house. I think I'm really gonna enjoy this one. Next up, also coming out the 30th, we have The Hunger We Pass Down by Jen Sookfong Lee. So the description for this one, tread cautiously because the comp titles that it gives, it spoils one of those comp title movies in giving the synopsis of this one. So I'm not gonna give the comp titles because I think that's a really big spoiler for the movie that this is being compared to. But it is a horror-tinged intergenerational saga as a single mother's doppelganger forces her to confront the legacy of violence that has shaped every woman in their family. Single mother Alice Chow is drowning. With a booming online cloth diaper shop, her resentful teenage daughter Luna, and her screen-obsessed son Luca, Alice can never get everything done in a day. It's all she can do to just collapse on the couch with a bottle of wine every night. It is a relief when Alice wakes up one morning and everything has been done. The counters are clear, the kids' rooms are tidy, orders are neatly packed and labeled, but no one confesses they've helped, and Alice doesn't remember staying up late. Someone or something has been doing her chores for her. Alice should be really uneasy at this, but the extra time does let her connect with her children and her mother begins to share their haunted family history. But the family demons, both real and subconscious, are about to become impossible to ignore. So I am intrigued by this one. I think it's really interesting how we have a woman who's so at the end of her rope that when paranormal, really weird things start happening that she should be questioning, she just accepts it. Don't look a gift horse in the mouth and all of that, but this miracle doesn't really seem like it is one, and a family history that's very haunted. So definitely looking forward to this one. Next up, we have The October Film Haunt by Michael Wehunt, and this one is Paul Tremblay's horror movie meets the scope and emotion of Stephen King in this heart-pounding, magnetic, tour-de-force novel destined to become an instant classic about a woman pulled into a cult horror film that is determined to have a sequel. 10 years ago, Jory Stroud was the rising star of The October Film Haunt, a trio of horror enthusiasts who camped out at the filming locations of their favorite scary movies, sharing their love through their popular blog. But after a night in the graveyard from Proof of Demons, perhaps the most chilling cult film ever made, directed by Helene Enriquez, everything unraveled. Now Jory has built an isolated life with her young son in Vermont. In the devastating wake of her viral, truth-stretching Proof of Demons blog entry, Jory has put it all, along with her intense love for the horror genre, behind her until a videotape arrives in the mail. Jory fears someone might be filming her, and the Rickies, Enriquez obsessives who would do anything for the director, begin to cross lines in shocking ways. It seems Helene Enriquez is making a new kind of sequel, and Jory is her final girl. As the dangers grow even more unexpected and strange, Jory must search for answers before the proof of the movie's title finds her and takes everything she loves. So I'm excited. I have an arc of this one. I do generally tend to love a horror book that deals with a cursed film, haunted movie sets, horror movies in general. So definitely definitely looking forward to this one. Next up, coming out the 30th, we have Playing Wolf by Zuzana Ríhová, and this is translated from the Czech by Alex Zucker. And this is about a couple deep in the woods of a failing marriage who find themselves the unwitting victims of a kidnapping plot after they move to a mysterious village in this distinctly poetic and disturbingly elegant horror novel for fans of Midsummer and the Witch. Husband and wife, Bohumil and Bohumila, together with their son, move from Prague to a remote village with the hopes of salvaging their marriage. In the searing summer heat, they try to fit in with the villagers, only to be met with hostile stares and elusive lies. Each night, the couple hears what they suspect to be a large animal wandering around their cottage, an impression that oddly corresponds to the mysterious flyers found at the local watering hole regarding a woven fairy tale. As inexplicable coincidences begin piling up, it's clear something sinister is afoot. After a drunken night out, the couple come home to find the house empty. Their son is gone. After 3 days of searching, they find the villagers in festive costumes gathered outside their cottage. Is it a bizarre game or some perverse folkloric ritual? Are they in danger? And what has happened to their son? I am a little bit sad that this one is coming out in September because it does really have those summery daylight sort of horror feels, especially if it's being compared to Midsummer, but I am really intrigued with this one. I want to read more translated horror, and I think this has whisperings of a little bit of something werewolfy, so I'm pretty excited to check it out. And then last but not least, coming out September 30th, we have Widow's Point, The Complete Haunting by Richard and W.H. Chizmar. This is a riveting found footage narrative about doomed thrill seekers trapped in a haunted lighthouse. I hear found footage, sign me up. I love found footage movies, and I love when books attempt to do this in a book format. I think it's so unique, and I really enjoy seeing the storytelling styles they deploy to invoke that found footage feel. I read Memorials by Richard Chizmar and did really enjoy it, and it also had found footage elements, so I am pretty excited for this one. Originally built in 1838, 3 workers were killed during the lighthouse's construction, including one who mysteriously plunged to his death from the catwalk. That tragic accident was never explained, and it was just the beginning of the terror. In the decades that followed, nearly 24 additional deaths occurred in or around the lighthouse. The lighthouse was finally shuttered tight in 1988, and a security fence was erected around the property. No one has been inside since, until now. Told across 2 harrowing incidents from 2017 and 2025, those who enter the Widow's Point Lighthouse searching for supernatural proof and the next big thing find themselves cut off from the outside world. And although no one has recently stepped foot inside the structure, they are not alone. In this remarkable collaboration, father and son writing team Richard and W.H. Chizmar combine forces to tell a terrifying ghost story that will make you think twice about what's waiting for you in the dark. So very excited about this one. Sounds like a paranormal investigating crew go into this lighthouse, and they are going to find the paranormal evidence that they were so hoping to, and a lot more. So definitely looking forward to that one, but that is the last book that I have to talk about. That comes out in September. So thank you all so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment down below. Let me know out of this list which titles interest you the most. Make sure to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any of my content. Stay safe, stay spooky, and I will see y'all in the next video. Bye!